So let's be honest. The Dallas Cowboys, Micah Parsons negotiations have been weird. So I talked to one of the best Cowboys insiders in the game to get some clarity. Hey, what's up, everyone? It's Mauricio Rodriguez. We have a lot of content for you on today's video, so I'll just cut right to the chase. I talked to Joe Hoyt from All City Dallas, and very soon from Dallas Morning News. I'm not putting him on blast. He announced it on his own social media. So let's see what he had to say about the whole Micah Parsons thing. Here we go. The Micah Parsons deal. I think it's been a very different coverage compared to the Dak Prescott thing and the CeeDee Lamb thing last year, just because the Dak Prescott thing, there was he had just so much leverage to leave Dallas if he wanted to 1 year later. Whereas with Micah, you still have the potential for a franchise tag in 2026, all of that, which is obviously a very different conversation. But even though we know how the Cowboys front office operates, let me ask you this. Are you surprised the deal is not done yet?
No, I'm not surprised. I guess the only thing that surprises me is actually how far, in theory, they've come without actually getting to this point. I mean, without actually getting over the top and signing it. Because if you kind of look at, what the Cowboys playbook is in terms of the front office, and this, Mauricio, it is hey, why don't we just kind of run out the clock? Maybe hope that you take a deal that is a little bit less than, what you might want. I think, honestly, you might have seen it with Osa Odighizuwa, frankly. I think that they got him below what I would consider market value for a player like that. And the 12th hour, kind of 11th hour deadline of the franchise tag, I think that might have played a part. That's just kind of contextually speaking rather than, concrete source-based reporting there. But I think that's kind of their playbook is let's try to run out the clock and wait until they kind of cave to our needs. Let's let them come to us. And if you watch what CeeDee Lamb has done, what Dak Prescott and Todd France have now done twice, that's not something that really has worked in the Cowboys' favor. I think now it's a bluff card that's been called out every time. And then you kind of say, all right, now what do you want when it's over and done? I think from the very beginning, the Micah Parsons negotiations have been unique. I think Micah Parsons has not bought into the narrative or not kind of sold himself into the narrative of being the disgruntled player that wants to make more money than he's supposed to. I mean, he came out very early and said, hey, I just need a lake house. I don't even need to be the highest paid non-quarterback in the NFL. I just want a lake house, money for a lake house, and I'll be cool. And I want to be paid kind of what my production is. And it's funny, if the Cowboys would have, been able to get a deal maybe back then, hey, maybe they're saving money before Myles Garrett signs. But the interesting thing is, and Clarence Hill over at DLS has reported this, that Mike and Jerry had a handshake agreement or a verbal agreement on what the money per year would be and a couple other details too. All that was left to do was to kind of button things up through David Mulligetta. And instead of buttoning things up, Jerry Jones kind of had that one shot of, hey, I don't even know his name.
Yeah.
Whatever his name is, I just want to meet with Micah. And then the other interesting thing too is, Micah was kind of asked deliberately at our last interview with him, hey, why don't you tell David Mulligetta to call Jerry, or have you done that? And his response was, hey, no comment to that. Next question. Yeah. So it's kind of this interesting thing where here's what I know. The Cowboys are going to make him the highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history. That is going to happen. Sources indicate they plan to do that, right? The number, I feel like we all have a ballpark number of where that is in terms of the value. Now they just need to button things up and get over it. But I'll be honest with you, I think the onus is on the Cowboys to do that, right? To make that phone call to get it done with David Mulligetta, get Micah Parsons done so he can participate in training camp and be the best Micah Parsons he is heading into this season, right? But also, if David Mulligetta and Micah Parsons want to get this deal done, I do think there is a window where they could also initiate some things too. So it is a thing where I think the onus is on the Cowboys, but right now there's this weird dance. I'm surprised it's gotten this far without actually getting over the hump, because usually it's kind of, hey, we haven't talked in a while. And as of right now, the Cowboys haven't talked with David Mulligetta in a while since the Combine. So I think it's kind of in a weird standstill, Mauricio, kind of a weird spot. I guess that's what surprises me, but I'm not surprised that the deal isn't done.
It is very weird. And, I just think of the I just think of Jerry and Micah downloading and printing the same negotiation tactics that Michael Scott prints out in the office, and they're like, I'm declining to speak first, basically, to one
Yeah.
another. That seems to be what's happening. But then the reason why I ask if you're surprised, because as you said, we know how they operate. Like, this is what they do, right? I had a colleague of mine over at A to Z Sports write about his comments about, how he likes Dan Quinn when Kevin Durant was trolling him about, hey, you will be a commander in 2 years. And they were basically asking me, do you think it could happen that he doesn't get a deal? And personally, I just don't see this ending like that. I see him getting an extension at some point, but I was explaining to them, this is the Jerry Jones game. This is how he likes to play it. This is what he does. But then Micah's just aggressiveness in saying early on, I want a deal done before free agency. I want this, I want that. Him showing up, that's been so weird to me. Him being around, maybe not around for OTAs, but kind of around. He was part of the scheduled promotion, right? The whole video that they did with Schottenheimer and CD. He showed up for the team pictures. He was at minicamp, and he even took part in some drills. Like, I don't think we've seen another player in a situation like his where he's doing that. And it's weird because on the one hand, they're not even talking to each other, at least front office and agent, right? They're talking to Micah, but they're not talking to David Mulugeta, as you said. But he's showing up like that. That has been so weird. I think that's Micah kind of winning the PR battle, though, because when they get to Oxnard, he's told you guys that he's going to be there probably in a holding fashion, I would assume. But if you had to ballpark it, do you think when the Cowboys kick off the season versus the Eagles, do you think he's got a deal done?
Yeah, I think so too. But I before that, I wanted to go back to that point you just made, Mauricio, because I think it's really good. Micah Parsons is unique, right? I think Micah Parsons is the head of Bleacher Report football, broadcasting. He understands, in conjunction with a guy like David Mulugeta, I believe, narrative. He understands image. He understands branding. He understands what doing little things can do. He understands that, hey, by starting off on the second minicamp without a helmet and seeing some drills and saying, you know what, I just need to get in there. Someone get me a helmet, put it on and get out there. Like, I think he understands what that does. Like, I do think there's a genuine aspect of Micah is he loves this game, and I think he did want to be out there. I also think that he understood how that would play out in terms of the narrative about this contract negotiation, saying that, hey, he wants to get this deal done. He's showing up, just like you said. So I thought that was a great point that you brought up. I do expect the deal done to be by the start of the season. I think that we even saw last year. I think people kind of forget the Dak, kind of word, war of words, even though he showed up to training camp, like that was getting a little contentious, like a little bit with Jerry Jones. It was kind of, I kind of used it a cold war of words is kind of the way I described it last year. And they still got a deal done literally right before the start of the season opener. I don't foresee it going that long, frankly. If I had to guess, and again, it's kind of a who knows thing, I bet you that we go maybe a week and a half, 2 weeks into training camp before Micah Parsons signs a deal. I think that there is going to become a point too where Micah wants to get this deal done. I bet you that David Mulugeta is telling him, hey, let's run out the clock on them a little bit. Trust me, we'll get everything we want and more. Like, let's do it. I do think that, there are motivations from both sides to get this deal done before the start of the season. So that's kind of what I expect. But, hey, I mean, anything can happen with the Cowboys in terms of negotiations.
For more Cowboys content, make sure you follow A to Z Sports Dallas and also check out Joe Hoyt at Joe J. Hoyt on Twitter.